Say goodbye to VR sickness and hello to seamless virtual reality experiences with these tips for preventing discomfort with the PSVR2. Virtual reality technology has come a long way, but for some, the experience can be still marred by discomfort and sickness. This could be especially frustrating for new PSVR2 users who want to fully immerse themselves in their virtual worlds. In this video, I'll be sharing some top tips for preventing VR sickness on the PSVR2 so you can enjoy your favorite games and experiences without any interruptions. Hi, I'm David Loving and you're watching Loving Tech Life. On this channel, I share my love of tech and gaming with tips, tutorials, and reviews based on my experiences. Welcome. First off, thank you to the viewer Shades of Grey Matter that gave me the idea for this video. He was keen to offer advice to someone that got really sick from VR in the comments of another video. With that said, let's get into it. Fortunately, the PSVR2 already does a lot to mitigate VR sickness, especially when compared to the original PSVR. The latency is vastly improved and the headset itself has haptic feedback built in. Research has shown that this sort of rumble feedback in the headset can help reduce the lurching feeling sometimes felt by users and prevent motion sickness. You may never get VR motion sickness, however, the best suggestion is to start out with games that don't feature artificial movement. Moving with an analog stick or even gesture-based movement. Games with artificial movement are the #1 culprit for VR sickness. In the best starter games, you only move in the game if you move in real life, which is much more comfortable. Some PSVR2 launch games like this are Moss 1 and 2, Job and Vacation Simulator, Cosmonious High, Tentacular, and Star Tenders. Resident Evil Village would probably be the worst choice to start, but you can work your way up to that. For example, for users that started on PSVR1 back in 2019 with Moss, they found it was a great first VR experience. It was an awesome game with no discomfort. From there, they quickly worked their way up to intense games like Skyrim and Resident Evil 7. A step up in intensity from those starter games would be ones with gesture-based movement, or where you're stationary but the world is moving, like Cities VR, Kayak VR Mirage, Pistol Whip, and maybe Gran Turismo 7 or the Dark Pictures Switchback VR. Most, if not all, modern VR games will have a variety of comfort options. When you're starting out, it's a good idea to configure them all to maximum comfort and see how that feels. After a while, you can try reducing them and assess how that affects your comfort. The second most important tip is if you start to feel any symptoms, nausea, sweaty, dizziness, stop playing immediately. Take a break until you feel 100% better, then jump back in. That could take anywhere from seconds to hours. It's crucial that you don't try to push through that feeling, as that'll only make it worse and make your brain associate VR with being sick. It might seem like a bummer, but if you stick with it, you'll be able to handle it more and more until you just don't feel sick anymore. Users have even had a bit of luck provoking VR sickness in small bursts to acclimatize themselves. An example of this was when a user first started playing Skyrim VR. Smooth turning made them feel a little bit queasy, but since they were only doing it for a second at a time here and there, they recovered almost immediately. After a short time, they didn't feel it anymore. But the key is that they stopped turning until they felt completely fine again. One note on symptoms is that sometimes it can be tough to differentiate between a symptom of motion sickness and a legitimate and awesome sensation from playing the game. For example, in Horizon Call of the Mountain, people who have played it said they've got some pretty intense vertigo when they looked down during climbing. That's more a natural symptom of immersion than something to be concerned about. Users have had similar experiences when they played Trackmania Turbo in VR for the first time. It is important to be careful though, as those natural feelings could mask symptoms of motion sickness. In the event that would naturally provoke those feelings stops, but the symptoms persist, it could be a good time to take a break. Next, I'll talk about some preparations you can make to be more comfortable. If you're getting value from this video, please go ahead and smash the like button below and comment with your experience with VR sickness and if you have any tips you'd like to share. Finally, you can make preparations to have a more comfortable experience. Playing while sitting down is good for starting, as long as the game supports it, and having a fan pointed at you can help give you a sense of direction and make you feel more comfortable. I'd also recommend not playing on an empty stomach or drinking alcohol beforehand, at least until you're used to VR. This might make it seem like VR isn't worth it, but it's completely changed the way some players look at video games to the point where they almost exclusively play in VR. Also, it's important to reiterate that this advice is based on the experience of various players with older VR tech and the PSVR2 is doing a lot to mitigate motion sickness. Chances are, if you start with a game that's more comfortable and work your way up to more intense games at a reasonable pace, you'll probably never experience any significant discomfort. That said, if you've had a bad experience in the past, I can totally understand being nervous about it. Definitely better to try the headset before buying it if possible in that case. The vast majority of people can get over motion sickness with a bit of time and patience, if they even feel it at all. But a small percentage never will, and for some others the investment just isn't worth it. On the other hand, I've heard of people who've had very serious motion sickness the first time they played VR, but decided to stick with it because they saw the potential, and they eventually got to the point where they play completely comfortably for hours a day. So if you're keen to get started with PSVR2, you'll probably want to check out the games that are releasing in the first month of the headset's launch. Then check out this video by clicking or tapping the screen, and I'll see you in the next one.